Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Throughout the Bible, we see instances where God is pledged to support, defend, and give encouragement to those that he's been working with. And so when we look at this scripture, we could glean the same thing for us personally, that God is going to be there to help us, to support us, to encourage us, and give us that extra bit of oomph that we need to keep going, moving forward, and dealing with all the adversarial context and situations that our lives may present. But what's interesting is there are certain scriptures that God professes that he's there for you and that he's there for us, and he's going to defend you against certain things that are in the environment that are going to attack you, that may be dangerous to you, things outside of you that may come upon you. But oftentimes, one of our greatest enemies would be ourselves. And what happens is that instance, that attack, that undermining is coming from within. And we also need God's help to deal with those aspects, to deal with what's coming from within. And that's why we need encouragement, because discouragement oftentimes originates from within us, and our self-doubts and our worries and our saying to ourselves, we can't do that, we can't be successful, I'll never be able to manage reaching a certain point or status, and you've given up before you've even tried. So when we look at these scriptures, we see that God is there to show us our potential and allow us to see what may not be very clear now to us or even others. But most definitely, we can't undermine ourselves before we even attempt to go beyond what we think we're capable of. And so when we read this scripture, that's certainly something to take away, something to grasp about what is being relayed. But without a doubt, there are other themes and things to take away from this. And so when we put this in context, we can see a little bit more as well. So all that was said is definitely true. But when we look at it in the context in which it took place, there may be more meaning that we could take from it as well. And so at this point in time in the narrative, Moses has passed, and God is speaking to Joshua, telling Joshua that he's going to be just as supportive in his ministry and in his leadership as he was with Moses. And please understand Joshua's frame of mind at this point. He is but one of two individuals that survived 40 years of Israel traveling in the wilderness. All the other adults had passed. He's the only one that grew into adulthood. And he watched loved ones die. He watched friends and family die. He saw his culture and his nation just be ripped apart by lots of social division amongst those that were not willing to trust in God. And now here he finds himself, now the leader of the Israelites, about to cross into the promised land. And what happens prior to verse 9? God tells Joshua to remember, to make sure, to stay devoted to his word, to all the instructions that he gave to Moses and now he has access to, and to meditate on those things continuously and to apply those things and to keep God's ways. And if he does such, he would find success. And this is what God is conveying. And this is what God conveys throughout the whole Bible. That it's more than just show up and good things will happen. There is effort on our part, an internal effort, a mental effort, an effort that is of a spiritual nature to develop the character of God within us. It's not just a free pass. When you have a student that's enrolled in school, it's required that they do more than just show up. There is effort on their part. They need to study. They need to apply what they learn. And then they need to pass the test, the series of tests that they will undergo. What student would complain that the teacher is putting them through a test? The test is uncomfortable. The test hurts. The test doesn't make me feel good. That's just not no one would think that. And so in our lives, as God works with us and we encounter tests, do we think something is wrong? Do we think God is being unfair because we believe that God exists? We believe that he's done certain things in the past. Isn't that enough? There is an effort on our part to adhere to the way that God has laid out that we should live. That's not a bad thing, to be lawful. That's not a bad thing, to be righteous, to try, to put forth effort and rely on God. As God has promised to be there to support us and encourage us, we need to do our part and try and use the abilities and the information and the understanding that God has given us.